All right, so I'm Brabant. This is my second year as a master's student in the Division of Plant Science and Technology. And what I do is I focus on pollinator habitat, rehabilitation, and conservation of bumblebees. So here we have a couple of different kinds of bees. So this is our bumblebee, our brown belted bumblebee. They're a little bit different than our other native bees. So here we have, it's called a leafcutter bee, and then we have a longhorn bee here. Typically we'll see these on our smaller flowers. They're a little bit smaller of a bee compared to the bumblebees. The bumblebees do a really good job of using the larger flowers. That's kind of how they end up partitioning themselves. But our bumblebees are really efficient pollinators. So what the females do is they have these pollen baskets on their legs, and they'll kind of go to a bunch of different flowers and pack in pollen, and they have to go to a lot of flowers to kind of get this large amount. Compared to our other ones, so the other native bees do have pollen carrying capacity. They have certain structures, maybe some hairs on their abdomen that they'll kind of use to pack it on. But bumblebees are really good about needing a lot more. So they kind of end up being a more efficient pollinator. So that's why we like to focus on them, is that they're really efficient at what they do. So we like to kind of push some resources towards them. Not that these aren't all important, they're all very important to us. They're all native, but the bumblebee just tends to be a little bit better at its job. One thing you might get confused with is that the carpenter bee. So it's going to look really similar to the bumblebee. The main difference is going to be the abdomen is more shiny, so it's going to be black and shiny. And what it has these bigger mouth parts, and you'll kind of see this is the one that kind of goes in your deck. So it might chew a hole in your deck and your wood. They also do the same thing for flowers. So if their tongue can't get to the bottom of the flower, they don't really like that. And what they'll do is they'll chew off part of the flower. So they kind of destroying the flower, but they chew it off so they can then get their tongue down and get the rest of the resources out of the flower. It does end up damaging the flower, so we don't like that. But it is a native bee, it does a good job, but our bumblebees are the most efficient that we have. We see about probably 4 to 6 species here in Colombia, different species of bumblebee. Across the state, we think there's 7, roughly 7 or 8. So there are some very rare ones. But we do typically here at South Farm get about 6 species each year. We have seen all 6 species again this year, so that's very good. So we do have a couple species. They look really similar. It's called our American bumblebee and our black and gold bumblebee. And they have a little bit different colors on their backs. But really, it's really hard to tell them apart. The black and gold has basically yellow eyebrows up here that you can tell them apart from the American, which will just have black eyebrows, essentially. The American has been found to be in decline, though, so it's trending downward pretty fast all across America, so we are pretty concerned about that. We did have a parasitoid, so the variable cuckoo bumblebee is now, we don't know if it's extinct, but it's in very low numbers. We haven't seen one in a very long time. But it is a parasitoid of the American in a weird roundabout way. And since the American is in decline and we don't see that one anymore, we kind of have drawn that the American is probably in trouble. So what I have going on here is my main research project, and what we're looking at is seeing how seed source affects the bloom time, all using Missouri native wildflowers. So we like to focus on our Missouri native wildflowers because our insects here, our local communities, have co-evolved with these flowers. So it's really important that we preserve both the native wildflowers and the native insects kind of at the same time, and not use any introduced species to kind of better help them and be more efficient essentially in the ways we help them. So what we're doing here is we have taken seeds from 3 different ecotypes all across Missouri. This here is our north ecotype. So this is about 160 miles north of here in Columbia. This is our pink flags. This is our central ecotype. This is going to be from right around Columbia, give or take 20 miles. And then here at the very end, we have our southern ecotype. This is going to be about 160 to 180 miles south. Some maybe get down to like Boot Hill region, but not too far. And what we're doing is we're seeing how the bloom times are different. So if you can see from these early, so this is the north ecotype up here, a lot of these flowers are in bloom. So this is our ironweed, tall ironweed, our swamp milkweed. This is a very popular plant for our bumblebees, and our blazing star, all in bloom right now. What we would have seen a little bit earlier is about 4 weeks ago, the swamp milkweed started blooming. And this is the swamp milkweed from the north, and it started blooming before both the central and the central and the south ecotype back there. So it blooms about 4 weeks earlier when you take it from the north and plant it here in Columbia, Missouri. The blazing star wasn't quite the same. It's roughly the same across the board. But then again, we have our ironweed, which is in bloom now. It just started about a week ago. Same thing with our central ecotype back here. So it started blooming roughly the same time as the north, but as we get back to our southern ecotype, the southern ecotype has not bloomed yet. So it's still probably a week or two from blooming, but again, this is our southern ecotype and it's not blooming, so we like to see there are differences in the bloom times here. And what the goal for this entirely is going to be trying to spread out the resources for bumblebees. About halfway through the colony cycle, the main queen, the start of the colony, will start producing males and new females. So the new females will be a part of the colony. You'll see them out. They're a little bit bigger than the normal size. But then at the end of the season, the whole colony will die except for those new queens. So it's just the new queens that will survive. They don't typically produce too many new queens, maybe maximum 10 or so, depends on how big the colony initially was. But yeah, it'll go and it'll find somewhere and it'll dig about 2 inches under the ground. So they like, depends on the species, but grass piles, old hay bales, and they'll kind of find those, maybe some leaf litter, and they'll go about 2 inches under the soil, and that's where they will hibernate for the winter. So they overwinter there, 2 inches under, and then again, go throughout the winter, they survive, they do a very good job, they're nice and fuzzy so they can kind of keep warm. And then right around that March, April time, they'll come out and they need the early season flowers then essentially to start their colony again.